Have you ever been caught in a storm so fierce that you thought you wouldn't make it out alive? Imagine thunder roaring like 1,000 drums, waves crashing taller than houses, and the wind howling as if the very heavens were tearing apart. Now picture yourself trapped in a small wooden boat in the middle of that chaos, with no way of escape. What would you do? This is the story of one terrifying night on the Sea of Galilee, a night when fear met faith and chaos met peace. The day had started like any other. The sun shone brightly, shimmering off the waves of the Galilean waters. Jesus had been teaching for hours along the shore, crowds pressing in just to hear his words. His voice carried stories of the kingdom of God, parables that opened hearts, and truths that stirred souls. By evening, exhausted from teaching, Jesus turned to his disciples and said simply, "Let us cross to the other side." The disciples, seasoned fishermen, knew these waters well. The boat pushed off from shore, cutting through calm waves as twilight painted the horizon with orange and purple hues. The gentle rocking of the boat and the cool evening breeze must have felt peaceful compared to the pressing crowds of the day. Jesus, weary from his work, found a cushion in the stern and drifted into deep sleep. His breathing slowed, steady and calm. But on the Sea of Galilee, peace is often short-lived. The lake sat nestled in a basin, surrounded by hills that funneled winds with terrifying speed. Out of nowhere, dark clouds rolled in. The air shifted. What was once calm water turned restless. The disciples noticed the first strong gusts of wind, brushing their cloaks, rippling the sails. Then, in an instant, the storm struck. The sky cracked with lightning, flashing across the blackening heavens. Thunder boomed, shaking the air. The sea heaved violently, waves rising and crashing down with terrifying force. Water surged over the sides of the boat, drenching the men, filling the hull. Their hands gripped the ropes, pulling against the wind, straining to keep the vessel from capsizing. The small wooden boat creaked under the pressure, tossed like a toy in the storm's fury. Fear gripped them. These men were fishermen men who had spent their lives on this water, yet even they knew this storm was unlike any other. Panic spread through the boat like wildfire. Their shouts rose above the roaring winds. "Bail the water! Hold the sail! We're sinking!" Their hearts pounded with dread as the reality set in. If something didn't change, they would all be swallowed by the sea. And there, in the stern of the boat, lay Jesus, still asleep. His head rested on the cushion, his face calm as though the storm around him did not exist. How could he sleep? How could he rest when death loomed over them? The disciples could not believe their eyes. In their desperation, they rushed to him, their voices shaking with fear. "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" Lightning split the sky. A massive wave crashed against the boat, lifting it high, then slamming it down. The disciples clung to the edges, soaked and trembling, their eyes fixed on the one they hoped could save them. Jesus stirred. Slowly he opened his eyes, unshaken by the chaos. Rising to his feet, the storm howling around him, he stood with an authority that cut through the darkness. With a voice firm and commanding, he spoke not to the disciples, but to the storm itself. "Peace, be still." In that instant, the impossible happened. The wind stopped. The waves stilled. The sea, moments ago a raging monster, became as smooth as glass. The silence that followed was deafening. The disciples, their chests heaving, their hands still gripping the boat, could hardly believe what had just taken place. The storm had obeyed his word. The forces of nature themselves bowed to his command. Jesus turned to his disciples, his gaze steady, and asked them, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" The disciples were left in stunned silence. Fear still gripped them, but now it was mixed with awe, a holy reverence. They whispered among themselves, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him." That night, they had set out expecting just another crossing of the lake. Instead, they had witnessed something that would forever change how they saw their teacher. They realized they were not merely following a wise rabbi, not simply a miracle worker, but one with authority over creation itself. And yet the lesson was not just for them, it is also for us, because storms are not limited to seas and skies. Each of us faces storms in life, moments when the winds of worry, fear, or loss threaten to overwhelm us. Times when it feels like the waves of hardship crash faster than we can bail them out. Maybe it's financial struggle, a broken relationship, sickness, betrayal, or the heavy weight of uncertainty about the future. We all know what it's like to feel trapped in a boat, staring into chaos, wondering if we will survive. And just like the disciples, we sometimes look to heaven and cry out, "God, don't you care that I'm drowning?" We mistake his silence for absence, his calmness for indifference. But this story reminds us of something profound. Jesus may appear silent, but he is never absent. He may seem asleep, but he is always in control. The same voice that calmed the storm on Galilee still speaks today. "Peace, be still." The storm obeyed him because creation knows its master. And when we invite him into our storms, he can calm the chaos inside us, even if the waves outside still rage. Sometimes he quiets the storm around us. Other times he quiets the storm within us. Either way, his presence brings peace. The disciples' fear turned to faith that night, and their panic turned to awe. They learned that the one in the boat with them was greater than the storm against them, and so can we. So now I ask you, what storm are you facing right now? And what would you have done in that boat when the waves were crashing and all seemed lost? Would you have panicked or trusted the one who holds power over wind and waves? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And if this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful Bible stories, and share this video with someone who needs encouragement today.